It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Smooth and Savvy is joined by Light and Fluffy for an hour of talk, music, and fun, along with our own Periscope girl. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Smooth and Savvy himself, Douglas Coleman.
Hey. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me. How you doing? It's Douglas Coleman, and we got another great show for you today. Today is our music from around the world, and I've got two guests that are coming up in a few minutes. One is an Italian classical and jazz vibraphone and percussionist. His name is Giuseppe Mazzamuto. And the second guy is an Australian country singer named Tyson Colman. No relation to me. He spells it without an E, so C-O-L-M-A-N. He's going to be on right after Giuseppe. But first, before we get to them, let me bring out my co-host. She is the president and founder of Lady Lake Entertainment, the always light and fluffy Ms. Cindy Diadamo. Yay, hello, Cindy.
Thank you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Douglas?
Oh, doing pretty well, hanging in there. Well, we had The Burbs number 3 last week, episode 3, yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little sneak preview. The creepy factor really starts to ramp up in 4 and 5, which will be coming up. But 4 is coming up on Thursday, and then 5 will be the following Thursday, and it just goes exponentially more creepy. So we have that to look forward to. What did you think of episode 3?
Well, I think that I'm really into that kind of stuff. I like everything that's kind of like horror / sci-fi. And this has a little bit of an element of both. It's a mystery. It's also scary. It really makes you think because you don't have a picture in front of you. This is what's so cool about this radio theater to me is that you have no visuals. So you've got to create it all in your head. So you think more about the lines than you would when you're watching something. So just a different word here or there makes you kind of go, I wonder why they said that, or I wonder why that happened.
Well, yeah, and it's like an audiobook, but you've got all the characters and all the sound effects that you don't have in an audiobook. Mm-hmm. So it does stimulate your imagination, but you're getting a lot of help with all the characters being real and all the sound effects. But you still have to picture it in your mind because it's not a movie. Yeah, so it's kind of like in between an audiobook and a movie, I would think, yeah?
Mm-hmm. It's really cool. I'm loving it.
So if you want to tune in for the 4th episode of The Burbs, it will be Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can go to carmentheateronline.com and get all the links from there to Spreaker, which is where it will be broadcasted. So please come and check it out, and you won't be disappointed, and hopefully you'll be scared to death.
And if you've missed any of the episodes, you can listen to the ones that have already been live, and that way you can get up to speed to find out, what you missed to be current on the next one that's coming out.
Right, yeah, and they're only 10 minutes long, so it's not going to take a lot of time to get caught up. It'll take you half an hour to listen to the 3 that have already been done. Those are up on YouTube and also on the Spreaker site, and I think they're up on SoundCloud as well, so your choice of where you want to go listen. The other thing I wanted to mention is last week we had talked about Star Trek. We got into a conversation about the original series.
Oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Which you and I both love. You had asked me who my favorite character was, and I had said Spock. But I want to ask you what your favorite episode was.
Oh, my goodness. There were so many. I loved all the ones where there was something involved with like alien people and things like that. And I didn't so much like the battle ones where they were, fighting, what was it, the Klingons?
The Klingons or the Romulans, one or the other, yeah.
Yeah, they were I don't know. It was always some hokey thing. And there weren't specific episodes, but there were things about it that I thought were so cool. The little communicators and the transporting booth and all the fake computer equipment, because back then it had to be all fake.
Right. It was just a bunch of lights.
Yeah. What did they call the front of the ship? The command center or something, where they're all in the semicircles sitting around at their stations?
Well, no, they call that the bridge, just like on a ship.
The bridge. So they're on the bridge, but there's all that flashing light and everything there was fake. But of course I believed in it because I was following the show. But now when you watch it, you can see how ridiculous some of the stuff is.
Well, they didn't quite have the technology then to even make fake technology like they do now.
That's why it's funny.
Right. If you look at the new Star Trek series and the new Star Trek movies, the effects, the special effects are certainly much better, but they did pretty well for what they had at the time. They didn't have computer graphics and they didn't have a lot of things. They had to use real plastic stuff with blinky lights and things like that.
Right,
to give it
exactly.
To
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But I think what I liked about it so much were the characters were truly characters, in quotes. They really had some crazy personality traits, and the accents were very, very hokey, Scotty and, Chekhov. And,
Right. Yeah, the accents were pretty lame. The one thing that was good about the show was that it was true to its time in the sense because it paralleled what was really going on in our society. When you looked at the Klingons were supposed to be like the Russians, because this was at the height of the Cold War when all of this was going on. And I think the Romulans were supposed to be the Chinese, but I'm not sure. But you had the two enemies that were the equivalent superpowers to the United States at the time. And it was just interesting how they took the U.S. and sort of fast forwarded it, 500 years into the future or whatever it was. And so we had gotten rid of a few problems because I know then, the civil rights was a big issue going on. And so on Star Trek now, all the races and all the people got together, but they still paralleled some of the things that were going on in Earth, I don't think it was coincidental that the Klingons were supposed to, they kind of resembled the Russians, in a funny sort of way. But
what's also interesting is the people on the bridge were all guys, except Uhura, and she was like the space age telephone operator.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So that's the job they gave the token woman.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, there was a bit of sexism in it. And also, did you notice that the women wore those really short skirts?
Oh, of course.
In that show? Yeah. So, well, come to think of it, they all wore tight clothes on that show. I mean, those costumes were not relaxed fit mom jeans by any sense of the imagination. No. Well, speaking of the episodes, I wanted to tell you that my favorite episode of Star Trek was the one where Spock goes into heat. Because according to the story, the Vulcans only mated once every 7 years. He was obviously a little bit edgy during that episode, and I think I would be too if I only did it once every 7 years. I think that would be pretty tough. Anyways, they go to the planet Vulcan, and he's got to fight Kirk for some reason, and he has to kill Kirk. And so Bones gives Kirk a shot, which makes him look like he died, so that the fight was over, but then he really didn't die.
Okay.
Do you remember that episode?
Vaguely, yeah.
And then at the end, Kirk is alive, and Spock actually smiles, and then they give him hell for showing emotion and stuff. It was really a funny episode. So, what else is going on out there?
Well, aside of, we were involved in a big event, which I'll talk about later in my Lady Lake Corner, but the biggest thing in the news is really the Lamar Odom tragedy.
Well, what's going on with that? I haven't really read it.
Well, what happened is, I'm always on social media and I'm on Periscope, and so I have it set up so that all of the things I follow on Periscope will give me notifications that they're broadcasting. So I started to see all of the entertainment channels coming out with Lamar Odom. And I thought, I know who he is. He's a famous athlete, and he was with the blonde Kardashian, Khloe. So, and they were married and then they were estranged. I don't think they're divorced. I just think they're estranged. Evidently, he was at a legal brothel and he was doing some extracurricular activity there, shall we say. And someone found him collapsed and he was transported to a hospital, intubated. I don't know if he went into a real coma or he was put into a medicated coma.
Medical induced coma, they call that.
Yeah, he suffered, of course you suffer brain damage as soon as that happens. And now he's coming out and they say he's responded in saying like hi and stuff like that. But meanwhile, of course, all of the Kardashians rallied to the hospital and basically it's been a media frenzy because, of course, every time the Kardashians do anything from getting a lip injection to a new car covered in velvet, they're the top of the headlines. So this poor man, all kinds of drugs were found in his system. It's very bad. He's in, horrible just psychological shape and medical shape. And obviously his life it's very upsetting, but it's just being made into a media circus, as you could well imagine.
You said it was a legal brothel. I'm guessing it's in Nevada somewhere?
Yeah. I think it was, I can't remember the name of the, Love Bunny Ranch, one of those real cheesy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've driven out there before, and I'll tell you, it's so funny. You're driving out in the desert, and there is just nothing. I mean, nothing. There's not even a tree. It's just sand and dirt and then all of a sudden there's this house in the middle of nowhere and it's got a pink neon glowing sign and a silhouette of a female body and it's 50 miles to the nearest gas station or something. Well, Nevada made prostitution legal. I believe it's the only state in the country that did. But I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think legalized prostitution is fine as long as it's regulated.
It's safer than the illegal version, which is you have no idea who you're going to get as your, or the circumstances. So I think, having some health measures taken and some regulations would make it a safer endeavor. I'm trying to think of the right description.
It's safer business. It's just business. Right. That's all it is. The world's oldest profession.
I really don't see that if that is your choice, just as if it's your choice to smoke a cigarette or your choice to have an alcoholic beverage, which can both make you sick and damage you and kill you, why, if it's your choice to do this, which people are going to do it, legal or illegal, and the government could make some money off of taxing it,
Sure.
Why not do it? They're starting with pot everywhere. I mean, I think that if they're going to go with pot, they might as well go with sex and, let everybody have a big party.
Well, it's been legal. Actually, pot and prostitution has been legal in the Netherlands for many, many years. And I don't know that they are having any problems with it.
Well, it's not a country full of stoned hookers.
No,
so
it's
obviously, it doesn't corrupt everyone.
No, it's a very respectable place. I've been there a few times to Amsterdam. It's a really nice city. It's business. It's not sleazy. It's not nasty. It's just business. That's all it is. Oh, anyways, here comes our Periscope girl out of her submarine to give us her weekly report. Hello, Periscope girl.
Hello, Periscope girl.
Periscope girl reporting, Captain. Ahoy, Cindy Ladylake. Heave ho, swabs, and look lively now. Before you do a periscope, check out the 4 smaller icons that sit above the red button on your phone. Number 1 shares your location. Number 2 allows you to have a private broadcast. Select your own crew to view and blast the vermin. Number 3 will stop the greasy, scurvy dogs. As you can select it, only allow the brethren to chat. Aha! And don't forget to check the 4th button so that all your followers will know on Twitter that you are live. I have to cut and rip now, Captain. Swab down the deck. Whale bile. Periscope girl, over and out.
Okay, thank you, Periscope girl, for that lovely report. And down she goes again. And we will be checking back with her next week. And now, once again, It's time for Lady Lake Corner.
Welcome to Lady Lake Corner for the week of October 20th through October 27th. This week, we have some fabulous event photos posted on our Instagram at Lady Lake, taken at the Ladies Who Rock for a Cause benefit, which was held on Saturday, October 17th at McStew's Irish Pub in Levittown, Pennsylvania. Lady Lake artist Sharon Leah did a fabulous job of coordinating the all-day festival, complete with door prizes and a silent auction. Among the bands featured were popular local act Honey Spot Boulevard and Steamboat Annie of Philadelphia. Drop by our Instagram at Lady Lake Music and have a look at some live stage photos and the fabulous prizes from the event supporting breast cancer awareness. That's it for this week's Lady Lake Corner.
Okay, Cindy, thank you very much for that Lady Lake Corner. And we will be right back with Giuseppe Mazzamuto.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, before we begin Giuseppe's interview, I just wanted to give a couple of notes here. It's a little bit different of an interview than we normally do on the Douglas Coleman Show, as about half of the interview is in Italian. Giuseppe uses a translator, a man named Giovanni Conte, who is also his pianista. So the interview has a different dynamic to it than we normally do. Also, my apologies to Giovanni and Giuseppe, because originally we had planned to air a live performance, which they did for us over Skype, of their song Ballaro. However, we only had time to do actually to use one of the takes of the song. We have an MP3 and the live version. The live version, the sound quality wasn't terrific because it came over Skype. The vibraphone is such a dynamic instrument that it really didn't do it justice to have it broadcast over a Skype recording. So I opted for the MP3 version of the song. But I just wanted to say that Giovanni and Giuseppe did a tremendous job on the live version. Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough time to air both versions. So because the sound quality was better on the MP3, I opted for the MP3 version for the broadcast. But I think you will appreciate the song anyways. It is a great song. Without further ado, here is the Giuseppe Mazzamuto interview. Okay, my first guest today was born in Palermo, where he studied at the State Conservatory V. Bellini of Palermo, graduated in percussion instruments with a score of 10 out of 10, and also graduated with honors. Since 1998, he's worked as a percussionist for the Foundation Orchestra Sinfonia Siciliana, the second largest symphony after the Orchestra Teatro alla Scala in Milan. He has been a professor since 2010 of drums and percussion jazz for the State Conservatory V. Bellini in Palermo. In 2012, he attended a jazz course at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. In 2013, he performed as the drummer for the soundtrack of the film The Bright Side, which was winner of the Gold Medal Director's Choice at the Park City Film Music Festival in America and the Hollywood Film Festival, and he was also nominated for an Emmy Award. In addition to classical music, he has a career in pop music and jazz. In fact, he's made numerous concerts and national and international tours as a drummer and vibraphonist, including the International Festival in Macau and many others. Please welcome Giuseppe Mazzamuto. Buongiorno Giuseppe, come va?
Bene, parliamo in italiano.
Piacere di conoscerti.
Anche per me. Ciao Douglas.
So anyways, that's all the Italian I can speak, so we'll have to do the rest of the interview in English. It says here that you are from Palermo and you were born there. Can you please tell everybody just to tell us a little bit about Palermo, please?
She's talking about Palermo. She wants to tell of our friend something to Palermo, qualcosa di Palermo, no? Cosa ne pensi di, insomma, qual è questa città, insomma?
Palermo è una città, un museo a cielo aperto.
As Giuseppe is talking about Palermo, then Palermo is a museum. It is a living museum because it's a very ancient city.
In ogni angolo c'è una chiesa del 1100, del periodo barocco, di tanti periodi storici.
In every corners in Palermo you can see many church of Baroque era.
È una città dove c'è una forte presenza araba.
He's saying that in Palermo there's many influence, especially the Arabian influence.
Infatti ho scritto questo brano Ballarò.
So he composed that song Ballarò
perché è un mercato di origine araba il più antico nella città di Palermo.
Because Ballarò is a popular market of Arabian roots in Palermo.
Infatti nel brano che ti ho inviato in MP3 le voci che senti sono le voci vere del mercato di Ballarò.
So as you hear in the MP3 that you have at the beginning of the file, you can hear the real voices that we sampled for the song, the real voices of the shopper, the real voices of the market, the popular market.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. One question I wanted to ask for Giuseppe was, how did you like Boston when you went to Berkeley? How did you like Boston? Because I'm from Boston originally. I lived there for most of my life. Did you like Boston as a city?
Sì, in realtà il corso che ho fatto con Barton era un corso online per la Berkeley.
So really his studies for the Berkeley was completed online, not in Boston personally, but online with Gary Barton.
Oh, I see. You did it online. Okay. All right. Very good. I wanted to ask about the music when you were a young boy. What did you listen to? What kind of music did you listen to when you were a child?
In realtà forse oggi sono quello che ascoltavo quando ero piccolo. Ascoltavo musica classica, jazz e pop.
So when Giuseppe was young, he listened to classical music and pop. So he said that Giuseppe listens what he is now. So a complete musician. So classical music, pop, jazz music. All around.
E forse per questo ho avuto la possibilità di suonare con direttori come Claudio Abbado e come nel pop, nel jazz come Sting.
So for these reasons he can play with an excellent excellent people of music like Maestro Claudio Abbado for classical music and the most popular pop singer as Sting.
Do you, Giuseppe, do you prefer jazz or classical or both?
Non si può preferire qualcosa.
So he don't prefer. For him, the music, all kind of music is important to influence each others.
Sì, pure perché in realtà è come preferire un romanzo a un altro romanzo.
As it's like as prefer a book or another book. If a book is good, both are good, okay?
Okay, yes, I understand. Very good. What was your first instrument that you played when you were a child?
Battery, drums.
The first instrument that he played was drums.
Oh, it was drums. So how many instruments do you play, Giuseppe?
Quanti strumenti suoni?
Un centinaio. Many instruments.
A lot of instruments, yes. Many instruments.
Drums, vibraphone, marimba, xylophone, darbuka, congas, timbales. Ethnic percussion, yeah.
Okay, would you like to do your song now?
Yes, composed by Giuseppe Mazzamuto, and it's called Ballarò.
Palermo, luglio. Erano innata Capora, ma venteava. E io ero andata a casa a Baddarò. E mi ricordo che andai a questa casa c'era una finestra che affacciava un domicato. Il vento muoveva i tenne bianchi. Io ivo per affacciare me e l'aria Capora mi sconzò tutti i capelli. Mi chiudevo gli occhi e mi passare a sentire un sciavolo del mare. Tutto un tratto intesa voce e mi sbarracchiavo gli occhi. Ero miccato da Baddarò, che pigliava vita. Sai che beva, maica, ne muovo, piccitello, poi pensello. Un piccioletto che bello, io bello ciuffazzo. Passa super a mangia, capi i cappelli via, ma chi è la chi sai? Anche adesso Giovanno, che poverino.
Ah, bravo, bravo. That was very good. Very good. Oh, yes, very nice. Excellent. I really love the sound of the vibraphone. It just has such a sweet, sort of relaxing sound. Very nice. Can you tell us just a little bit about the note structure on the vibraphone is set up the same as a piano? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 on the top and the 8. Is it the same as a piano? The setup is the same?
La struttura del vibrafono, se è combinata come il pianoforte, tipo 5 note di sopra e il resto sotto.
Yes, the same.
The same, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The structure of the notes is the same, yes, as piano. The difference are that in the vibraphone, the notes are similar at a piece of gold. No, in the piano. In the piano are black and white. In vibraphone are all the gold of color.
Oh, they are the same color. Yeah. Okay, so if you could please, we're just about out of time. Can you say something in Italiano to your listeners in America?
Vuoi dire qualcosa in italiano ai tuoi amici americani?
Sì. Allora, saluto tutti gli americani che ci ascoltano nella speranza di venirvi a trovare live con la nostra musica e con questo nuovo progetto Mediterranean che racconta proprio l'Italia sia per la melodia sia per la Sicilia, che sono certo che lì in America, come sappiamo bene, ci sono tantissimi siciliani che ci stanno ascoltando in questo momento.
Okay, thank you. Okay, once again a special thank you to Giuseppe Mazzamuto and to Giovanni Conte for that nice performance and an interesting interview. If you want to check them out online, please go to www.giuseppemazzamuto.it. GIUSEPPEMAZZAMUTO.it. I think it connects to all his social media there, Facebook and Twitter. Please tell him that you heard his interview on the Douglas Coleman Show. And we will be right back with Australian country singer Tyson Colman. Okay, with me today is Tyson Colman, a singer and composer of country and country rock music. Raised on a small farm in Coomera, southeast Queensland, Australia. Tyson taught himself to play guitar when he was 15 and began singing from the time he could talk. A strong baritone tenor voice, now highly polished after 5 years of classical vocal training. He sings with a clean, unique quality that definitely makes you stop and listen. Some of his achievements are proud graduate of the CMAA College of Country Music in 2000. He was awarded Male Country Vocalist in 2001 Queensland Variety Wallace Award. Tyson was awarded Male Cabaret Vocalist in 2002 Queensland Variety Wallace Awards. Tyson was MC lead performer and the pre-show entertainment at the Australian Outback Spectacular from 2006 to 2009. Please welcome Tyson Colman. Hey, how are you, Tyson? How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Douglas. How are you?
Doing well. Stumbling through your bio, but
you're doing a great job.
So I got to tell you, you have two distinctions as a guest. You are the first guest on my show from Australia, and you are also the first guest whose name is Coleman, although we spell it slightly differently. So it's Mr. Coleman and Mr. Coleman today, and you being from Australia is a first, so welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm pleased to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Give us a little background, if you would, just, what you did as a kid, what kind of music you listened to, and what inspired you to get into music.
Well, I was raised listening to a lot of country music, so I guess it's in my blood. A bit of early rock and roll. I was listening to Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, Roy Orbison, those sort of artists. And that just progressed with my love of music from being a very small boy right through my teens, learning guitar, learning to sing. And by the time I was about 19 or 20, I was out starting to play. And I've been doing that for 20 years now.
Well, that's great. Did your parents help you at all, influence your music at all?
Well, yes, they did. A lot of the early music that I was listening to was obviously their music. So I was listening to Hank Williams, Johnny Horton, and an Australian artist, Slim Dusty. and a lot of the early rock and roll legends. So I was listening to their music early on. So yes, I guess it did influence me a great deal.
Okay, it says you're from the Gold Coast of southeast Queensland. Tell people about that for some of our listeners who have no idea where that is or what it's about.
Well, we're on the east coast of Australia. It's part of Queensland, so it's very similar weather to Florida, I guess. The Gold Coast is a tourist destination. We've got beaches, we've got mountains and hills up behind us, so it's a very popular tourist and surfing destination.
Now, is this near Sydney or Melbourne, Australia?
We're probably about 1,000 kilometres north of Sydney.
1,000 kilometres north of Sydney.
We're further up the coast.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a great map in my head of Australia, but I know that Perth is completely on the other side.
Yeah, Perth is a long way away. It's at least a 4-hour flight west of here.
And then in the middle, there's not much of anything. It's pretty dry, I think.
Yeah, very, very dry.
The outback, right? Is that the...
That's it.
That would be the outback. I've heard a term before, but I don't know what it is. What is a jackaroo?
A jackaroo is a stockman. It's what you'd call a cowboy. They muster stock. They look after cattle.
Oh, I see. Okay. Country music is something sort of interesting to me because there's always seemed to be a market for it, no matter what was happening in pop music. Country music has always seemed to maintain a very loyal audience. And I think actually in today's climate, country music is sort of a good place to be because pop music has changed so much from the 1950s to now. And yet people like Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash during the 60s when rock and roll was just dominating the radio, they still maintained a healthy audience and made a great living at it. Nowadays, where music has become a lot of sample-based music, country music seems to be still done the way it's always been done. And I think people that are fans of sort of performance-based music or real music have started to migrate over to country music. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to agree, Douglas, because a lot of the real reason people enjoy country music and continue to do that is because it's the stories. It's real people telling real stories, playing real instruments with other musicians. So it's got an earthy, real quality about it that a lot of the pop music doesn't have.
Right, exactly. What constitutes a country song? I've noticed that a lot of, like what we would have called in the 70s would have been like Southern rock, has sort of migrated over to country and is now on the country radio stations. And it was split back in the 70s. Now it seems to be sort of one, from what I hear, the country music has more electric guitars. And if I had heard the same song in the 70s, I would have said, oh, that's a Southern rock song, you know, like Marshall Tucker Band or the Outlaws or one of those bands. But there has to be something that constitutes a country song. And what would you think that is? I mean, is there a certain format or are there certain ingredients that a country song has to have in order for it to be called country?
No, I don't think so. I used to think I was leaning towards the rock side of it because of some of the influences that you mentioned, like Lynyrd Skynyrd and the Marshall Tucker Band. But the music, especially country music, is so diverse these days. I sit fairly in the middle of country. There's a lot more extreme than what I do, and there's also the very traditional styles. We call them bush ballads out here, where it's just a pick and strum on a guitar and some very simple instruments. So there's a very broad range of country music, from very, very traditional through to modern, and some of the artists who are using samples and rap and other influences as well in their music. And I sort of fall right in the middle of both. So I guess I'm probably more traditional now than I was when I started.
It seems to me that country music in Australia is really the same thing as country music in America, isn't it? I mean, there's not.
Yes, pretty much. There's not a great deal of difference. Some of the subject matter's a little different out here, but the basic styles are very similar.
I guess one could equate that to saying that the British playing rock and roll is the same as the American rock and roll music. I mean, it all came from America, didn't it? All of that country music, certainly, rock and roll music did. And it's just...
Absolutely. It was all originally, everyone had American or even some of the British influences, but mainly the Gene Autry's and the very early country and western influenced a lot of the pioneers of country music in Australia.
Well, listen, let's listen to one of your songs. We've got Shines Like Gold and From Now On. Which one would you like to hear first?
Well, track one's Shines Like Gold, so let's go with that one. Thank you.
Okay, very good. This is Shines Like Gold by Tyson Colman.
You light up a room when you walk into it. People turn their heads as you walk by. You're like a princess regal, proud and tall. Beauty and grace with no effort at all. You have a certain style that's all your own. The whole world's your stage, you play your home. Movie stars and queens won't be like you, but none can ever compare with what you naturally do. And if the stars shone half as bright as you, then the world wouldn't seem as cold and blue. Your smile's like music to my soul. What was dark and torn now shines like gold. Now shines like gold. Our lives had crossed before we met. No coincidence there, destiny out there. And if the stars shone half as bright as you, then the world wouldn't seem as cold and blue. Your smile's like music to my soul. What was dark and torn now shines like gold. Now shines like gold. And if the stars shone half as bright as you, then the world wouldn't seem as cold and blue. Your smile's like music to my soul. What was dark and torn now shines like gold. Now shines like gold. Yeah, it shines like gold.
Oh, there we go. Very nice. What was that little sound at the end?
It's just a little sample I played on a keyboard.
Oh, all right. Now, you wrote this song and you're singing lead vocals.
Yes, I am, and singing the harmonies as well.
Oh, is this a one-man band thing? Did you do all the instruments, or is there other people?
No. It's done in a studio here on the Gold Coast, so there's some very talented players. I just happen to be doing some of the harmonies as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a great song.
Thank you very much.
And again, it's like what we were just talking about, that if I had heard that song in the 70s, I wouldn't have called it country music. I would have said it was Southern rock, because it definitely has the Outlaws kind of Marshall Tucker, Leonard Skinner. It's in there, I think. I mean, I know music is very subjective and people would disagree perhaps, but I don't know. I guess the stereotype of what country music is to some people would be much more twangy, not electric, and probably a very strict subject matter, like, there's a list like pickup trucks, whiskeys, guns, women, dogs, that people say would be classically a country song, and it must include all of these things. But I think country has broadened its scope considerably. That song definitely has a much more of a rock and roll flavor to me.
It's definitely one of the more up-tempo numbers on the album, so... There's some other songs that are more laid back, that are a little more traditional. That I'm not considered traditional over here. A traditional bush ballad singer is strictly singing about the bush, singing about the cows and the trees and that sort of stuff. Whereas mine is definitely a more modern music. I'm looking at a broader audience than a local audience.
Now, is there any kind of, like you were saying, a bush ballad singer? Would he traditionally be an acoustic singer, like just have an acoustic guitar, wouldn't have electric instruments typically?
Yeah, that's correct, Douglas. A lot of the traditional country styles out here are strictly acoustic. I guess they're very similar to a bluegrass show that you'd see over there, where it's not amplified. It's acoustic instruments with very simple arrangements. And if there is a band, then it's a very simple acoustic band with some light drumming, maybe some brushes, but most of the time it's just the person and the guitar.
So you might have any kind of an acoustic instrument, banjos, violins, something like that, but definitely no electric guitars. Yeah?
No, not a lot of electric guitars. Some of them are branching out now because obviously times change and people like to try some new things. But strictly speaking, it's all very simple acoustic arrangements.
I see on your bio here that it said you were the MC and lead performer in pre-show entertainment at the Australian Outback Spectacular. What is that about? Tell us that. Tell us what that is.
It's a theme park based show. We've got a theme park here, Warner Brothers Movie World, and the Australian Outback Spectacular has its own arena built onto the side of the theme park, and they present an Australian-themed show for the international and local guests. So I was MC, I was coordinating the show, doing a few songs, and basically the entertainment some days before the show, they'd have an hour of country music. I'd be out the front singing on the back of a wagon and then go in and help in the show, and other nights I was MC.
Well, let's get to your other song, which is From Now On. Do you want to tell us anything about that one?
Oh, this one's probably the rockiest number on the album. It's a very up-tempo driving sort of song with lots of electric guitars in this one. So you'd consider it rock, I guess. But I like it. It's the title track of the album, and thank you very much for playing it.
Okay, here's From Now On by Tyson Colman.
You don't know how far I'd go to be with you tonight. You don't know how far I've come. Been driving 3 long days across this dusty highway. A few hours more and I'm home. I thought working away would solve all our problems. I guess I was wrong. No amount of money can make things better. You can keep your job 'cause I'm gone. Da 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 da. I'm gonna love you like a man has ever loved a woman. I'm gonna hold you all night long. I've been to hell and back without you here beside me, baby. I'm gonna be here from now on. Da 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 da. Too many lonely nights away from you. My woman home alone just won't do. Only the Lord above knows how much I miss you. Can't wait to see your smile. Know it's been just as hard for you, darling. Stuck at home all this while. me, no 15-minute phone call. Can't wait to feel your skin on mine. I'll kiss your lips and I'll hold you near me until we lose track of time. Da 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 da. I'm gonna love you like no man has ever loved a woman. I'm gonna hold you all night long. I've been to hell and back without you here beside me, baby. I'm gonna be here from now on. I'm gonna love you like no man has ever loved a woman. I'm gonna hold you all night long. I've been to hell and back without you here beside me, baby. Gonna be here from now on. From now on. Da 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 da. From now on. Da 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 da. I'm gonna love you like no man has ever loved a woman.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, great one. I love the banjo in that. It's the banjo with the electric guitar is a nice combination.
I like it too. I love banjo.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of banjos. I can't get enough of them. My father listened to a lot of that. He used to call it hillbilly music, but it was the real bluegrass kind of stuff, like Flat and Scruggs, the real fast banjo picking. I absolutely love that kind of music. I think it's fabulous.
I'm a big bluegrass fan, so I love having the banjo in there. And a couple of my other tracks are more bluegrass orientated. And the man playing is called Mark Rigney, a very talented banjo player out here, and he's very fast. He does a lot of the Scruggs style as well.
Yeah, that's incredible, that kind of picking style. Have you heard of a musician called Bela Fleck?
No, I haven't.
He plays banjo, but he plays it electric amplified. And he does this kind of, it's sort of like jazz fusion almost. Really, really good stuff. But he hasn't been around for a while. He had a couple of albums out in the late 80s, early 90s. But anyways, so tell people.
I'll have a listen.
Yeah, if you look, it's Belafleck, Bela Fleck. Tell people what you're doing now. What are you performing? Are you recording now? Or what are you up to?
I've started the initial work for the next album, so that should be into recording for next year because I've already got the songs written for that. And I'm performing at the Clarence Valley Country Muster down in Grafton at the end of the month, so I'm into rehearsals with the band and getting ready for the festival down there at the end of the month.
Well, great. And you know what? We are out of time. I'm sorry to say. That went by really quick. Please tell people where they can find you on the web, your Facebook, Twitter, website, anything like that.
All of that's available from www.tysoncolman.com. So it's TysonColman.
Okay, well, Tyson, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And I am a fan of your music. I'm going to listen to some more of it. You're on Reverb Nation, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm going to go in there and listen to a few more of your tracks because I'm really loving your music now.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me. And thank you, listeners.
Okay, take care now. Okay, well, that's about all the time we have for the show today. I'd like to thank my special guests, Giuseppe Mazzamuto and Tyson Colman, for being part of our Musicians from Around the World show. Also a thanks to Periscope Girl for coming up in her submarine once again, and of course to my co-host Cindy Diadamo. This is Douglas Coleman saying good night.